Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing our fourth, I believe, installment of playing with pairs. And today is going to be pairings that are all about as above, so below. So these are a few pairings that I use often, as well as pairings that I have been playing with lately to tap into that balanced energy of sort of the earth and the cosmos, as above, so below type of an energy. And this was actually inspired by the first pairing that we're going to take a look at. And I've got eight pairings for you today. So there's quite a few. So I'm going to move through them fairly quickly. Honestly, like I could have done probably a dozen or more because I have a lot of decks that fit into this sort of as above, so below category. And like I probably could have done at least a dozen, but I capped it at 8 and just picked like my favorites. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. So let's go ahead and jump in. So our first pairing today is going to be the Sirian Starseed Tarot, which I apologize is out of print, and the Earth Power Oracle. So let's talk real quick about these little decks because like these are so not my vibe, but I absolutely adore these decks, and they were the sort of catalyst or the inspiration for this whole idea of looking at decks that kind of bring the balance of as above, so below into my collection. And then I wanted to create readings around that. So I started with the Sirian Starseed, and my copy is modified. Believe it or not, it is actually trimmed. There was a giant white border on this deck to start with. So I've trimmed and edged mine, and I really wanted to connect with this deck. I really like this deck is so not my aesthetic, but I absolutely love it. It's one of those decks that like I shouldn't like, but I do type of a thing. And I was looking for an Oracle deck to pair with it. And I ended up wanting something that was really into that earthy realm. And so I ended up grabbing the Earth Power Oracle. This is still an readily available Oracle deck by Stacey DeMarco. And they actually work really beautifully together. So one of the things I love about this sort of as above, so below kind of a pairing is that it allows me to kind of bring both energies in together and then kind of find the balance between them in a reading. These two decks, I think, work really well together in that respect. We do have that really earthy energy coming through, like the literal earthy energy coming through the Oracle deck, because these are giving us earth places of power. And then there's a very cosmic energy in the Sirian Starseed in terms of the artwork as well as the energy. It is also kind of, earthy, but it does feel like it's bringing cosmos down into the earthy realm. So again, finding that balance in between. I really do enjoy these two decks together, as kind of strange as the Sirian Starseed really is. It's an odd little deck, but I really, really enjoy it. Again, the photo collaging is similar. It's much more refined in the Earth Power. However, I do think the Earth Power might be a tad newer, but they both have the same sort of digital collage photograph energy, so they pair really well artistically. Like, I'm not above saying that I like things to be pretty, but it is more about how the decks work together, the way the energies mingle on the table. A pairing like this, I think, really takes that cosmic energy, that idea of the sort of starseed self, that we are all made of stardust energy, and it brings it down into the earthly realm through the Sirian Starseed, and then through the Earth Power Oracle gives us like a place of personal power. So that is kind of what this little pairing offers me, is about how I can channel that sort of cosmic, universal, connected energy down into my everyday life, and then where I can activate that in a personal power sense. Okay, speaking of matchy-matchy, let's make everything look super pretty and aesthetically pleasing. We have the Starchild Tarot with the Moonology manifestation cards. Like, even the backs are aesthetically pleasing, right? So this is a pairing that I've actually been working with in my monthly medicine. So you'll see this one again at the end of the month when I do my reflections. I do actually really like the Starchild Tarot. I know that the Moonchild is a favorite for many people, and I do also enjoy that one as well. But the Starchild for me does tap more into that sort of cosmic, universal energy. And again, similar to the Sirian Starseed, kind of helps bring it down into the earthly realm. The Moonology manifestation is actually like a deck of moon phases, and like it has astrological associations and things like that. When I am working with it in this way, I'm really not paying that much attention to that. The main focus is the message on the bottom of the card. And yes, these two are very matchy, aesthetically pleasing, but they do also read really well together. They complement each other beautifully. And what this little pairing does for me is help me to see where I can take that cosmic energy and actively manifest it or apply it in my life. And so this works really well because it's kind of telling me through the tarot, like, what do I need to tap into, right? What do I need to access within myself? So we have the Emperor and the Two of Wands. And then what is it telling me to do with that energy here in the Moonology manifestation? Here it's telling me to tap into that Aries energy, new moon in Aries. So if we want to pull that energy in, right, we can have that new moon energy along with the Aries energy. And then the message is go for it. It's telling me just take this all and get it done. Just do the work. And I really like the kind of bluntness about the way that these two decks work together. I think they work really well in kind of giving me an idea of where I need to be focusing and like how to actually put that into action. So a lot of times I struggle with sort of manifestation type of cards, affirmation type cards, because I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do with that energy a lot. And I feel like this little pairing gives me not only, keys me into not only like where I need to be focusing that energy in my life, but like what I actually need to do with it. Like it gives me something concrete to put into that. So like here, I've got the Queen of Swords and the Knight of Swords, right? And what do I need to do? I need to practice a little gratitude there, right? I think it works really beautifully in that sense. Of course, aesthetically, they're beautiful together. They're all like cosmic-y and pale and soft and pretty. But again, we are really looking at the messages coming through the cards and how they really work to balance each other out. So here we have the Wheel of Fortune and the Three of Swords, and it's telling me like lighten up. This would be like a case of like, it's really not as bad as you think it is. So like just get over yourself type of an energy, which I appreciate. It's very blunt. It's very to the point. I think it works really well in terms of delivering very succinct, concrete messages that give me something very specific to work with and to tie into. So it's a beautiful pairing that I've been working with quite a bit this month because it feels like it has a very actionable end line to it. Like I walk away feeling like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to take a reality check. And I just think that that's fantastic. So the next little pairing that we're going to look at is another pairing that I've actually been working with quite a bit this month as well. And this is the Isis Oracle with the Tarot of the Cat People. So I recently mentioned the Tarot of the Cat People in my deck crush video because like this is a fairly new deck in my collection and I am totally having a little bit of a love affair with it. But I have also been working with it like in a very deep and meaningful way. And I've been working with it quite a bit with the Isis Oracle, which is a deck that I use for the most part when I am working with this particular personified deity. So it's a deck that works quite well for that. And I do really enjoy the messages that come through. Now the pairing with the Tarot of the Cat People kind of just happened intuitively and I really love it. I think it works really beautifully together. I feel like the messages from Isis, from the Oracle come through very clearly and succinctly through the Tarot of the Cat People. In an as above, so below kind of an energy, I feel like the Isis Oracle is like pulling into the as above through personified deity. And then it's bringing it down into not just the earthly realm, but this kind of weird sort of cat alternate world kind of a thing. It does have a little bit of a cosmic kind of energy to the cat people, I feel. I do also feel that like it's very succinct, it's very blunt, it speaks to me in a language I understand, which I've mentioned before. But this for me is like kind of where deity is offered the opportunity to speak through the tarot. And I feel like Isis just speaks very clearly through the Tarot of Cat People for some reason for me. Aesthetically, I think they're pretty too, because, you know, we all know I like my aesthetic pairings. But it really is about how I feel like the Tarot of the Cat People takes the message from Isis, from the Isis Oracle, And it really helps to expand upon that in a way to see where it needs to be applied in my everyday life. So again, we're kind of getting that as above, so the message coming from above, and how can I reflect and apply that? How does it mirror what's going on in my real life? Kind of the so below thing. Now, clearly I'm using that as above, so below very loosely here in this video, but you get the basic idea of what I'm going for. Pulling in that cosmic energy, bringing it down to the earthly realm, and having a deck that balances that energy out and then helps me to combine it into one reading. And I think decks like this work really well for that. Deity is definitely an energy that I associate with kind of that as above energy. To me, that is cosmic energy personified. And it feels like that is a way, a personification, a face that I can engage with that energy with. And the Tarot of the Cat People helps me understand the message that's trying to come through from this particular personified deity. I have played with Tarot of the Cat People, also with the Goddess Oracle, and it does work beautifully for that as well. It's amazing how many times the cat people align with the goddesses in that deck, but the one that's really spoke to me the most and that I feel like really has the most to say, and the messages have been the most resonant for me, have been the cat people with the Isis Oracle. And it's just a fantastic little pairing. Okay, so let's get a little on the nose with the whole as above, so below with these next few pairings. Here I have the as above tarot with the Earth Wisdom Oracle. So these two decks I think work really well together. Funny enough, they're both by Barbara Moore as well. The as above deck is a fairly new deck in my collection. I just got it around the end of October, I think. Yeah, it was at the Northwest Tarot Symposium. I got this one and the next one that we're going to see as a box set. And I really have been enjoying getting to know it, but it is still a fairly new deck in my collection. But I've been enjoying pairing it with like an old favorite, which is the Earth Wisdom Oracle. This is like one of my favorite Oracle decks. It's so versatile. I absolutely love the artwork and I adore the messages that come through. This is one of those Oracle decks that I always get into the guidebook because there's just so much wealth in there. And I always find exactly the message I need at the time that I need it. But when we're looking at that as above, so below kind of an energy, I love this idea of the sort of channeling is what I'm getting from this particular pairing. I feel like the as above gives us the opportunity to channel that cosmic energy into the Earth Wisdom Oracle, and that's where we find that connection point. So in this little pairing, it works really well for me, and it's funny, I've been playing with this one for writing, because channeled writing is something that I'm working through, and this little pairing's been working really well for helping me to tap into that, because I feel like the tarot gives me the sort of channel, the conduit to the above energy, to the cosmic energy, and then the Earth Oracle is kind of showing me where to integrate it into my life or how to integrate it into my life. And so it works really beautifully in that sense. I do think that like aesthetically, it's really quite lovely together. It has a very soft energy across these two decks that really does kind of add a little bit of kind of comfort to a reading such as this. I feel like channeling, and that can be a triggery word. So when I say channeling, what I mean in a very basic sense is just tapping into something, creating a channel to something else. I feel like we can channel all kinds of different things. But what I'm talking about is channeling sort of that cosmic energy, that connectedness, that universal all, channeling that down into ourselves and then allowing us to do something productive with it. That's how I feel this particular pairing works, and what I have been actually primarily using it for. So it's all about creating a conduit. And this deck just works really beautifully for that. It taps into that idea of us being the channel, of the person, me being the channel between the heaven and earth. So like I sit in the midpoint between those two energies. And I just think this works really beautifully for that. Again, I've used it quite a bit lately for writing related projects, as in trying to create that channel between myself and, like, let's call it divine inspiration, right? Cosmic inspiration, wherever it is that ideas come from when you're writing, wherever it is that the words flow from when you're writing. That's what I've been using this deck to try and tap into and to help me access that and, you know, become a channel or a conduit for that. And then again, using the Oracle deck to kind of clue me into where I need to direct that, how I need to integrate it. And it's just been an absolutely fantastic pairing for that. I'm sure there are lots of other ways in which this pairing would be very, very beneficial. And I think it is just a really beautiful way to balance out those two energies as well. But for me, that's kind of what I've been using it for. And the As Above tarot, just, it feels like a direct conduit to divine energy, to cosmic inspiration, and the earth wisdom just feels so rooted and grounded that I'm kind of like sitting in that in-between space, right? I am the mediator between the earth and the heaven and the earth. And that just, it's such a beautiful, beautiful practice and process for me. So flip-flopping that, I also wanted to have a little play with the other deck that I got in that box set, and this is the So Below Tarot, and I've pulled out the Goddess Temple Oracle cards to pair with it. The So Below deck, again, I got as part of that box set, and it's one that I haven't worked with near as much as the other one. I do really like it. I love the very everyday earthiness of this deck. It feels very modern. It feels very approachable, and I have really enjoyed the little bits that I've done working with it. I love this Knave of Pentacles with all the little gnomes around him. So cute. But to be perfectly honest, I have not worked with it as much as the other one, and I have not worked with it in this particular pairing, but I wanted to see if I could do the same sort of pairing sort of in reverse that I do with the sister deck. And so I chose the Goddess Temple Oracle. Now this is a deck that I've used actually quite a bit. I sometimes divvy up the sort of archetypes in this, or the goddesses in it, out from the sort of oracle messages, and sometimes, as you can see here, I just have them all mixed in together. This is a deck that I've used for very specific readings. It's also a deck that I've used in pairings, and it works really beautifully for a lot of different things. It's a very versatile deck in that way. And so I just thought we would see if we could do the sort of as above, so below type of energy, where we're going to not really have the tarot act as the channel, but the oracle deck become then the channel into the cosmic realm, the divine realm, and then see about where we can apply that in a very mundane way through the So Below deck. So I just thought this would be an interesting one to pair together. I think that they do actually look really beautiful together. Again, this is not one that I've really tried, so we're just experimenting here together. But I do feel like we could use this as a way to access that sort of divine cosmic energy and see where we can apply it in a real world sense, because the So Below deck feels very much in the everyday. Like here we have the Owl Tower. Some of these I would need to get into the guidebook to remember like what that actually means. But here we have the Hanged Man, so someone actually doing yoga in a yoga position. And then we have the Chariot, which looks like, to me, looks like the mom like taking all the kids, like carpool type of a thing. So like this is a very interesting dynamic, because this is like where I try to connect with self, is through yoga and personal movement. And then Chariot kind of represents like me being in the mom space of the everyday just living of life. And I love how we kind of have this channel in between. So how can I integrate those two aspects of self and be sort of cosmically connected, whether I'm in this very quiet, introspective yoga space, or I'm like in the car with a boatload of noisy kids, right? I can be cosmically connected in either one of those situations. And I think that that's just really cool. These mirror each other really well. So yeah, I just thought this would be fun to give a try and see how they might, look together, how I feel like maybe the messages are coming through, and what I'm seeing in the cards and what the artwork is leaning towards. And I do feel like it would be a great one for helping me to kind of bring a little bit of magic into the everyday, so magic in the mundane. I think that this would be an excellent pairing for that. I do feel like a deck maybe a little bit more focused in on the keywordy kind of oracle messages would be better. I mean, this is beautiful. The High Priestess, the Temple of Water, and the King of Swords. I love this. Like, you can still be in this High Priestessy, you know, submerged in the Temple of Water self, even when you're in the midst of out there being in charge of your everyday life, right? You can integrate the magical into the mundane. We can be the High Priestess as well as be, you know, the board of directors or whatever, right? And I think that that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful message. So let's move on to a couple of old favorite pairings when it kind of comes to that as above, so below sort of energy. I have the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot and my Hedgewitch Botanical Oracle. So this is a kind of tried and true pairing in my collection. I have been working with the, and I'm throwing around, the Intuitive Night Goddess pretty frequently ever since I got it. I absolutely adore this deck. I think it does such a great job of bringing that sort of divine goddess, divine mother energy, bringing it down into the earthly realm. And then of course the Hedgewitch Botanical is a deck that I mention all the time because I use all the time because it's such a wonderful, versatile little reader for me. I think these two decks together work really well because it kind of allows me to take that goddess and earth mother energy kind of in one. It allows me to kind of roll that into one. So kind of that idea of the cosmic goddess, the cosmic mother with the earthy mother. And I see the kind of earth mother coming through the plant energy. And I feel like these two just work really well in that sense of kind of bridging the gap, taking that really big cosmic mother energy and bringing it down into the earth mother realm. I think these decks work beautifully for that. Again, the Oracle deck provides a really succinct focal point for me. And this is such a wonderful way, I think, to interact with the divine feminine energy in a very practical sort of way, because we get that sort of cosmic-y, outside of ourselves energy through the Intuitive Night Goddess. And then in the Hedgewitch Botanical, I mean, kind of like I've said in a lot of these pairings, it's like those earthy decks are like, okay, how do I bring that down into a realm that I can do something with? Cosmic energy, the idea of a cosmic mother or divine goddess, anything in that large realm can feel really unattainable. It can feel really inaccessible. And a pairing like this just kind of helps me take that energy and like bring it down to the ground, bring it to a space, bring it here into my everyday life where I can do something productive with it. And again, I think this works really well, kind of similar to like we saw with the Starchild and the Moonchild. Like it tells me like, what do I need to do with this, right? The botanical deck kind of gives me that sort of earth mothery energy through the plants, but also gives me a succinct keyword to kind of tell me, like, what do I need to do with this big cosmic energy that's coming through the Intuitive Night Goddess? So yeah, it's a beautiful pairing. I really enjoy working with these two together. Again, it's a tried and true pairing in my collection. Okay, so we're gonna wrap our as above, so below pairings up with three of probably the most tried and true, longest use as above, so below kind of energy decks in my collection. And this is the Cosmic Reading cards combined with the Blue Messiah, the Star Tarot, and the Tarot of the She. So we're going to start with these two together. The Cosmic Reading cards Blue Messiah, I have combined my two decks. I do believe they have different names now. I'll try to remember to put both and link both in the description box below. I cannot speak to the card stocks on those. These two particular decks do have the same card stock and they were the same size. I did trim mine, but they are exactly the same, so they blend together into one beautiful deck in a really, really beautiful way. But you can see here they have two different card backs. Outside of that, they work beautifully together. This is my first edition Star Tarot. I have completely trimmed this. And these next two little pairings are really about the as above, so below across the board. So I get kind of the hit or miss of whether it's going to be above or below energy or a combination of both. And so that's really interesting. And I think these work really well together because while there is very much a cosmic vibe to these two decks, it's kind of written in both of their names, there is also a very earthy underlayer to them. So they work beautifully together in really creating one cohesive message across the three decks that blend those two energies together really well. So we're not looking at one to provide sort of any sort of access point or anything. They're more of just a coming together to create one cohesive message. And I think they work really well for this. This is, again, another tried and true combination that I've used in my collection quite frequently. I love the very cosmic yet very grounded and earthy nature of both of these decks. So having this combined, the Blue Messiah with the cosmic reading cards, I do feel like I probably get a little bit more of that mix of the sort of heaven and earth kind of energy than perhaps if I just had maybe one deck or the other. I wouldn't even be able to separate them now at this point because I feel like they so belong together. They are one deck in my collection. They have always been one deck and they will probably always continue to be one deck. But I feel like the energies of these decks really do a great job of tapping into both, of pulling the cosmic and the earthy succinctly together into one message. So similar to that, kind of along the same lines, is my Tarot of the Sidhe. This is my newer trimmed version. I do have another version that is just down to the artwork, which I do sometimes use that one as well. And sometimes I want the titles and keywords, so I have both. I feel like these two decks together give me that really beautiful blend of the as above, so below in all the cards all at once. And I really enjoy the way that these two work together because sometimes the Tarot of the Sidhe, it does, I know it's a Sidhe deck and that's like a very earthy thing for a lot of people, but I experience these Sidhe more as cosmic beings. They feel very alien to me. And sometimes that alien energy can be a little bit difficult to connect with. And so I feel like it gives me that access point that I need to understand the message that's trying to come through the Sidhe. But again, because they're Sidhe, that's like an earthy thing as well, but because these particular Sidhe feel very cosmic-y and otherworldly, I do feel like I'm getting that really good balance between the two. And the cosmic reading cards and the Blue Messiah are helping me to understand that message. So it's not so much like where do I focus it or what do I tap into or how do I manifest it or anything like that. It's like actually telling me like what this reading is about, what these Sidhe are trying to tell me, right? They're trying to tell me the gift of truth with the Dancer Queen and kingdom prospers with the Maker 10. But what is that talking about? And here we can see it's talking about my sacred journey. So sometimes my cosmic Blue Messiah, whatever combined deck here is actually like being the interpreter for the Tarot of the Sidhe, because sometimes that I struggle with that energy. Sometimes I struggle with what it's trying to tell me. And so it does a really good job of kind of bringing that into my awareness. But I also think that it has a beautiful blend of that as above, so below coming through all of the cards on the table, right? It's not any one particular deck that's providing that energy. It's both decks working in tandem to create that energetic resonance between the above and below for me. So there we have it, another installment of playing with pairs, this time looking at those pairings that kind of create a balance point between the cosmic energy and the earthy energy, the as above, so below, and how we can integrate that and work with that within our practice. I would love to know if you have any of these deck pairings or what decks you might pair together to get that as above, so below balance. So please feel free to share with me in the comments below. As always, you'll find links for everything I've shown here in the description box of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.